Hey, welcome to Drinkin Bros, kids. Got a little Friday bonus show for you. Boom.
Yeah.
Coming at you, dude. The last 3 or 4 weeks, we've been spotlighting some other shows on the old Tetherball Academy Media. Today's show is Iconoblast, which is part of our Drinkin Bros History channel, along with Softcore History. Welcome, Joel and Coop, the hosts of Iconoblast. How are you guys?
What's up?
Doing good. Thank you for having us.
Man, that voice, Coop.
Thank you.
You know, I don't even know your real name. It's just Coop.
Coop.
Yeah, I prefer if people just call me Coop. I don't like it when people use my first name.
Is it something weird that we should know about?
No, not really. I just don't think it's a good first name. My first name's Matt.
Okay.
But I was talking about this when I was on Softcore History a while back, that the only time that anybody ever calls me Matt is if I'm in trouble, because it's just my family that calls me Matt.
That's fucking hilarious.
So yeah, don't like my first name. Just go by Coop or Cooper.
Yeah.
I like what Jack Mandeville calls me. He calls me Coop Cooperson.
Oh, Coop. I like Coop Cooperson. Yeah.
Might legally change my name at some point.
Pretty cute.
I would if I were you. Now, how did you guys meet, first of all?
Wait, I haven't seen myself on a screen before like this.
There you go. You look very
We look
tiny.
Like, yeah, we
Very
look
tiny.
like a gay biker gang or something.
Yeah. You
fucked up.
definitely look like two wheels of loneliness right there. And that's nice, you know, because if you are going to have a gay biker gang, obviously it's got to be two wheels of loneliness. Who's riding up front? Who's behind?
I'll take the front.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, God. You want his penis inside your butthole, huh?
No.
All right. Well, if you do, you do.
We're not gay.
You already said it on air.
Yeah,
That's how it's gonna work.
it's set in stone now.
Well, it's not gay if you don't like it.
How'd you guys meet?
That's a kind of a long story, but we met working security together at Amgen.
Yeah. Amgen is a biopharmaceutical company out in Thousand Oaks, and I had just gotten out of the military, and one of the easiest jobs to get is to go into security. They hired me within 5 minutes, and Joel ended up starting there like maybe
A few months after,
Yeah, a couple months after I started. I did not like him at first. He bugged the shit out of me constantly.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we could tell that story real quick.
Yeah.
Well, you should tell it because you were on the.
Yeah, so I
me
was working the lobby of one of the executive buildings where I'd just dress up in a suit and I'd sit at the front desk from 4 p.m. until like midnight, and usually the building was just empty. I wasn't used to having other people there. I was just there to watch the lobby while everybody else left. And there was a mezzanine level overhead, so there was like a sky bridge going over the top of the desk. One night I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden a piece of candy lands next to me on the desk that I'm sitting at. And I look up, I don't see anybody up there. A couple minutes later, another piece of candy comes down and hits me on the shoulder, and I look up right away, and I just see his face pop back over the top of the bridge. So I kept looking up, and just maybe a couple minutes later, he leaned back over and chucked another piece of candy at me, and that's how we met. He was just
Throwing shit at him.
That's
throwing
great.
shit at me.
Great. And you guys became beef fries after that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he used to smoke cigarettes at the back building at 27, and then I would start sneaking out there to talk to him. And I found out he was in a metal band,
No shit.
and I was into metal at the time, and then that's kind of how we broke down.
What was the name of your metal band?
It was Suburban Crisis. It was more of a kind of East Coast hardcore mixed with a little bit of 80s metal. A lot of soaring guitars and harmonization with a bunch of breakdowns and shit like that.
Suburban Crisis. I like it. Was it like that? Was it the deep?
Yeah,
It was. Yeah.
a whole lot of that, a whole lot of moshing, floor punching. We talk about it on Iconoblast quite a bit. The whole hardcore scene around Oxnard and Santa Barbara, Goleta, Ventura, things like that.
Yeah.
They had a good following. They would have good shows. I would go to
No
the shows,
shit.
and people would get bloody noses and knock their teeth out and rage inside a garage. It was fun when you were 20.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Were you
we
the
had-
one singing? Because your voice is incredible, Coop.
No, I'm a terrible singer.
Oh, really?
I'm a horrible, horrible singer. I played guitar,
Okay.
and I'm a little bit better at guitar than I am at singing.
just a tad.
Just a little bit.
Just a
though.
tad. Yeah. Because you definitely have one of those voices and demeanors like you've killed someone before.
I think he has.
Not that I'm aware of, but
Really?
I spent a lot of time driving drunk in my early 20s, so could have happened.
Yeah. There's somebody out there. What'd you do in the military?
I was a forward observer, 13 Foxtrot, a fire support specialist.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, carry a radio around and call in artillery.
All right.
Not really all that exciting. I got sent home before I even got deployed because of a medical discharge. I fucked up my back on a road march.
All right. Well, shit, dude. And Joel, you personally, like, I know a little bit of your backstory. You were a DP out in Hollywood. You were doing a bunch of indies. And then you actually got nominated for an Independent Spirit Award for Best DP for Bellflower.
Best cinematography.
Yeah. Why switch? Like, why the switch into podcasts?
I guess that's a long story. I don't want to tell the long
That's what a
version,
podcast is. Yeah, go ahead.
True. Yeah. But I mean, really, Coop started this podcast like, what was it, like 3 years ago? Or
Probably like 4.5 years ago or something like that. We had an initial run of episodes, but then we just didn't have enough time outside of work to keep doing the show, so we stopped for a
What was the
year or 2 years.
It was John Wayne or something? Was the episode you had me on as a guest?
we originally started off with a different co-host and did 2 or 3 episodes, and then brought Joel on as a guest, and it just went so much better that we ended up having him come on as
podcasts are a lot more
host.
fun than shooting independent film.
Really?
For fucking no money.
Oh
Yeah. It appears as if someone just gave us $6,969, and that is Itamashi.
Itamashi.
That would be crazy if true. By the way, is that a different currency?
That's
am I-
yen.
Looks like a different currency. Yeah.
It's yen.
Yeah.
What does that equal out to?
Not a lot.
Means all those zeros are pointless.
Bob, put the yen in there and see what that is. And then shout out to Bill Schofield. He's a huge fan of your show.
We love Bill.
Iconoblast, as are we, obviously. With the
Get about $50 out of that.
There we go.
A little
That's
over
pretty
$50.
good.
all
bad.
right, yeah.
Thank you,
A little
Itamashi.
Friday, some Friday booze from Itamashi.
He's
That's
actually been
awesome.
in the studio.
Yeah, we met him.
yeah.
He's rad, dude.
He brought
Yeah,
us some White
Itamashi's
Claw
awesome.
and we drank
It's
it.
fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Switching over to from movies to podcasts is a big jump. I did it too. I don't know if you had the same reasoning as I did, where I looked at the landscape and independent movies were dying.
Oh, dude,
On mine, comedies
Big time.
were
Because of
dying.
COVID and all that shit.
Everything.
Yeah.
Just everything in general. Like, I would say the decline for indies started with the death of DVD. Because
Oh, dude, for
owning a
sure,
production
yeah.
company, you could count on usually 50,000 DVDs going out the door to like Walmart, Target, and all that other stuff. And that was cooked into your budget of like, all right, if I make a movie for X amount of dollars, at least I have this amount of return.
Exactly.
As DVDs went away, it was kind of like LimeWire.
Paychecks went away.
Yeah, dude. It was like LimeWire and Napster, where I was like, all right, great. And then I was writing for studios and all this other shit. But then they kind of just stopped making comedies once like cancel culture started to kick in.
Yeah.
In like 2015, 2016. Range 15 was kind of the last of the Mohicans of like, oh, hey, we can write a movie with a midget zombie ripping a dick off someone's body.
And still make some money.
Correct. Because now, when you make an independent film and it goes to a Netflix or something like that, first of all, Netflix wants to own it. They're only giving you maybe 25 to 50K.
Yeah. I heard that Netflix isn't even buying.
They're not buying
anymore.
independent
It has
movies
to be-
anymore.
You have
Correct.
to go through them from the beginning. And
Or get
funding
into
from
a
them.
Sundance, have someone else buy it, and then go to Hulu or wherever
Yeah.
else you're going. But it's got to be under a major studio head. And as a frame of reference, one of my best friends just did it, Clayne Crawford, and he was in Sundance and then had to sell the movie to Neon. Neon then sold the movie to Hulu, and it's just like after that chain of events, they're like, "Hey, can you make another movie for a couple $100,000?" And you're just like, are we getting paid for this or what's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my switch, and where I was like, what's the next medium? And it was podcasts, where you could at least be funny and tell the stories you wanted to tell. With you guys in particular, why history?
I've always just kind of been a nerd, either video games, science, history, anything like that. Before I started getting back into doing the podcast, I was working as a programmer, computer programmer. I've just always kind of been drawn to nerdy topics. So since I had a fascination with history, one of the things that I always noticed whenever I was reading about some historic topic is the more commonly known story usually wasn't very accurate, and the accurate story was generally a lot more interesting than the common story. So I just had the idea to start digging up dirt on historic figures, and that expanded out into other iconic topics, because we'll cover people, places, and things, any type of iconic noun.
Yeah.
And I just thought that I was listening to a lot of podcasts at the time, and I just thought that it would be an interesting podcast to do, to kind of dig into specifically the lesser known aspects of popular historic figures.
Because I love history. And so when you guys in softcore came over and said, "Hey, we got this history podcast," I was like, "Fuck, man, I'm all in." That was my first interest in writing. Was when it clicked in for me, like writing wise and all that stuff. Was I wrote a paper on like Abraham Lincoln, and once I started to dig into it, and, it was in, I don't know, 9th grade or whatever it was, 10th grade. Once I started to dig into it, history and historical figures and events ended up being my thing. So like with the books, the St. James, Street James books, At Night She Cries and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It is based on history, real times, real places, with a fictional character kind of weaving in and out, Forrest Gumpish type stuff. But
That's
what
sweet.
I notice, and I'm curious if you guys notice this as well, and I believe I asked Softcore History the same thing, is if you get it wrong, for whatever reason, man, the people who like history will fucking rain down terror on you if it's just one incorrect date or city or anything else. They'll be like, "No, motherfucker, that didn't exist, that didn't happen. You should fucking read." And I'm like, "Oh, God damn it."
Yeah, very, very much so. I can't remember the name of the law, but there's a law online that the fastest way to get a correct answer is to post an incorrect answer. You can ask the question and everybody's going to ignore you.
That's great.
But
That's
if
true.
you post the wrong answer, then they will correct you right away. But yeah, I've noticed the same thing. It hasn't been so bad for our show because luckily the listeners have been pretty forgiving. But we do a Monday night premiere every Monday night at 9 p.m. We premiere our episode on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Joel and I both sit in the live chat and we get corrections every single week.
Really? That's
yeah,
funny.
they're friendly about it, but yeah, we get corrected on stuff every single week.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
hard to keep it all straight because there's so many different interpretations of different historic events where the story that you might have been following might not be the story that somebody else believes, because most of history is written by the victors. So
Yeah.
whoever has the most power is going to be the one that's controlling the narrative, and somebody else might have read a different narrative than the one that you read.
Yeah, and that's the craziest part about it. So it's kind of your interpretation of it and what you believe, to a certain extent. Man, I watched my wife on your show.
We love having Jessie on the show.
Was
She's our
not
favorite guest.
aware that she was wearing a wig that day. So I saw the thumbnail and I was like, "Oh man, that's a weird guest." You guys got into it with her. What was the last one about when she was wearing the wig?
Yeah.
We were
Kathy.
talking about John McAfee.
Oh yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
McAfee, and then you guys did John Lennon with her as well.
Yeah.
I'm a diehard rock doc. I'll go through every musician. All the documentaries I watch are historical. She likes murders, like hardcore aggressive murders and shit like that. But the John Lennon one, I just watched that Paul McCartney doc on Hulu.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, nobody talks about what a piece of shit John Lennon was.
he was a huge piece of shit. When we did
John Lennon.
fuck John Lennon. When we did the episodes with Jessie, that was actually our second time covering John Lennon, because we covered him once when we did our initial run of episodes, which are all vaulted. I don't know if we'll ever actually release them, but yeah, he was a horrible father. He was, in my opinion, a mediocre musician. I mean, Paul McCartney was the one that was carrying that fucking band. Paul McCartney and Harrison. I can't remember.
George Harrison.
Yeah, George Harrison.
Yep.
I mean, they were the only real musicians in that fucking group. If it wasn't for them, I don't think the Beatles would have gone anywhere.
Oh, it's so funny, man. So I watched that doc on Hulu. It was a 6-part series. It's really great. It's just Paul McCartney and Rick Rubin. And it's one of those things. Here's my guess on it. And speaking of history, I have a personal guess on why they didn't ask Ringo. And why Paul wanted to do it on his own. I think he wanted to tell the story about every single song from a true perspective, get it out there, have it live forever, because he's 79 years old and might die soon, and he doesn't want Ringo to be the last remaining Beatle who's going to have his, "Oh yeah, I fucking wrote that song," for every single thing. And you're like, "No, Ringo, you didn't do dick."
I don't think anybody would believe Ringo if he said that that he wrote any of their most popular songs. I mean, well, it was Octopus Garden.
Yes.
It was like one of the
Yeah.
biggest songs that he
That's
wrote.
it. Yeah. But when you look back at it, you're like, fuck, man, will anybody ever remember? I remember that Kanye song with Rihanna, 4 or 5 seconds from wildin', and it was featuring Paul McCartney. And I remember the song was huge, and it being #1 in the world. There was people on Twitter going, man, that's pretty cool of Kanye to give that guy a break. Because the younger generation didn't know who fucking Paul McCartney was. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Are we there yet? Like, history-wise, where people just fucking forget and stop caring? And I think the answer is yes. Like, no matter...
Absolutely.
No matter how fucking dope you are, like, my mind really changed with Twitter. No matter how fucking awesome you think your life has been or career, Sean Connery, right? One of the greatest actors of all time, James Bond, dies, trends on Twitter for maybe 4 hours. And then you never hear about it again. And you're just
Slaps women.
God
Yeah.
damn.
He was he a better actor or better at slapping women? Oh, just give him a little rap on the beak.
He probably had more experience slapping women than acting.
Both. But you could get away with that when you're Sean Connery, you know? He was the last guy who could slap women around and kind of get away with it.
And still be charming afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, well, she needed a rap on the beak, you know? There wasn't enough ice in my drink. And you're like, yeah, there wasn't enough ice in this. I should
that
be
on
able to give a
herself.
backhand. Yeah, she brought that on herself. Like, it wasn't my fault. It was hers. But yeah, after that, it kind of changed my tune on it. And then as you go along, like you were saying, you can kind of rewrite your own history and make up whatever you wanted. McCartney wanted to get ahead of it, though, and be like, hey, dude, we're not leaving this up to Ringo for our fucking legacy. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned it on the episode with Jesse when we were talking about John Lennon, that there's going to be 3 or 4 things that survive the apocalypse, and that's going to be cockroaches, Betty White, and Ringo Starr.
I'll throw...
Probably Keith Richards also.
Yeah, I'll throw Keith Richards in there, and then Frank Gore, the running back. Is he going to play this year? Probably, right? He hasn't said he wanted to retire, and the guy just keeps fucking toting the ball around, so we'll see. Who's been your favorite episode so far? Like, do you have a favorite?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious if you look at our back catalog that Julius Caesar is one of my favorite characters in history. We did a whole lot of episodes about him. We've moved away from that recently.
Thank God.
Yeah, I think Julius Caesar, really Roman history in general, is probably my favorite era of history.
Yeah, and I think it's Dan's as well, which is why you guys are beef fries.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time talking about. He likes the early empire. I've been more interested in the Republic era.
Okay, cool. And if you don't know,
I don't know anything what he just said. What that
No,
means.
you know nothing.
Like, what the fuck
Joel.
does that mean?
You know
That's why you're
nothing.
on the show, Joel.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you don't know, by the way, Coop writes fake news for us in APP.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on top of your shit, like you know it. And then you have Joel,
Yeah.
who knows probably zero about
know
history.
anything.
But
Nothing about
I
history,
think an element of that is important in a historical show where you're like, all right, great. You can ask the questions.
I asked the tough questions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, Coop, would you fuck a mermaid?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's been a
Stuff
big
like that.
topic on the show for a long time because of Joel.
And the answer is yes, right?
No, the answer is no.
Why? Why wouldn't you fuck a mermaid?
Exactly.
Exactly.
We
We
it's
have been
fucking
through this
bullshit.
argument so many goddamn times because I don't understand the mechanics of it.
Yeah, he's too logical. It's
There's a hole, right?
remember the mermaids in.
I mean, I
in-
guess, is it surrounded by scales? Is it?
Does it
sharp
matter
and
if there's a
jagged on the
hole?
sides?
Yeah, but it's wet.
Does it matter that there's if there's a hole or not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look,
Only when you think about it too much.
well, you got to put your dick somewhere.
Think about
Yeah,
Hook.
exactly.
Yeah.
Remember when Peter Pan fell in the water and those 3 fucking super hot mermaids?
Yeah.
You want to fuck all of them.
Yes, but where's the hole? So I understand where he's coming
That's
from.
the
yeah.
second question, though. But the first
It's an
thought is,
important
yes, I would
question,
fuck them
though.
if I could.
If you could, yes, but then you want to find out where the hole is, right? Because you're otherwise, blowjobs, hand jobs, that's all fine. So yeah,
I don't really classify that as
They've got titties.
having sex with a mermaid, though.
Titty fucking?
No,
Yeah.
Joel, we've
but
been-
if I like blowjobs,
yeah, sure,
okay.
What did we agree on? We
I do
agreed
that.
that mermaids have cloacas.
yeah, I
Yeah.
believe they would have cloacas.
What's a cloaca?
Yeah, it's
It's like the shitty private part that a bird has.
it's a combination of a sexual
What?
organ and somewhere that you excrete waste. They do everything out of the same
Yeah, it's
hole.
all one giant.
A
hole.
bird does?
And see, that's
It's fucked
another
up.
reason
Oh, God
that I don't
damn it.
understand the logistics of having sex with a mermaid because I I don't want that.
But also because of this, we found out that some turtles breathe out of their cloaca.
Yeah,
So imagine
true.
that it's a penis, a vagina,
Yeah.
a butthole, and you can breathe out of it. That's fucking
Yeah,
something.
but at least
It's a multi-tool.
it's something. Yeah, I mean, it's like anal sex then. So
Yeah.
you're fine.
or a pocket knife.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you put it that way, it's a little bit more understandable, but I don't know. I stand by my initial statement that
You wouldn't fuck a mermaid.
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
No, I think, look,
bullshit.
we're not going to know until we capture one. So let's put a team together and go out and really fuck shit up, capture a mermaid, and find out what happens.
That's what Jeff Bezos should be working on instead of flying up into space.
Yeah, but he's not going to. You know, he wants to go to the moon now.
He's selfish.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you guys ever cover like Apollo 13, like the moon landing and all that shit?
Not yet.
We plan on it, but yeah, we haven't done that yet. We've been focusing mainly on more ancient history, and then we've done a few more recent episodes. We had an episode about Floyd Mayweather. We did an
Fuck
episode
Floyd
about
Mayweather.
John McAfee, and yeah, Floyd Mayweather.
He's a terrible human.
Yeah.
Did you guys go into like the assault and all that stuff at his house?
Yeah, I'd say that was probably about 60 to 70% of the episode was just talking about
Multiple
the
assaults.
multiple assaults.
Multiple,
that he
yeah,
had.
on women, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he did time in jail. I forget how much time he did, right?
I don't think that he ever actually ended up going to jail. I think he
bought his way out.
Skated on everything. He was
I
able
think
to-
it was like 30 days. He was able to buy his way out, but I think he did 30 days. And I know his dad did as well.
Yeah. His dad and his uncle were both fairly shady. Also, his uncle shot his dad in the leg when Floyd was like 2 years old, and his uncle went to prison for it. Or it was a reverse. It's been a little while since we did that episode. But yeah, one of them shot the other and then went to prison for it.
Doesn't
Great
Floyd
family.
have a thing with punching women in the back of the head though? That's like his thing.
Rabbit punches?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did that to a couple of strippers up in Las Vegas at one point.
Well, he owns a ton of strip clubs.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. He put a lot of money in. I want to say he owns close to 30 of them, which is also like a little known fact. We were like, all right, sweet, man. Why would you want to get involved in that world? You ever meet somebody who works at a strip club and know like the inner workings of it? It's the worst fucking environment of all time. And then you're like, man, you know what I'd love to do? Own 30 of them and have to deal with all these fucking grimy people.
Yeah, depressing.
Super depressing.
Yeah.
And then I believe he's engaged to one of the strippers now.
Yeah, just fairly recently, within the last couple years.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Bob, can you pull up Floyd Mayweather's stripper wife? I mean, good for him and all that other shit. I'm sure she's down for whatever. And it's just like, look, you want to go ahead and fuck the other strippers, that's fine. My prediction on Floyd Mayweather, and I don't know if you guys got into it, I think he'll be bankrupt in 5 to 10 years.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that's a tough one because I mean he is a bit of an entrepreneur, but he's not very careful with his money. So yeah, I could see him going bankrupt. But I mean, goddamn, he's got a lot of money.
Last I heard, there was like 60 or 100 people on his payroll that were getting 6 figures apiece.
That's
Oh,
his
is
girl?
that the fucking stripper? Wow. All right, Floyd.
Okay, he did good.
Yeah, it looks like he's 51 now. That's
you
an
have
extra
any-
win right there.
Is there a
That's an
photo-
extra victory.
Is there a photo of the back of it, of the back of her head?
The back of her head.
Yeah, it's probably pretty swollen.
Yeah, I think he'll go bankrupt in 5 to 10 years. I think that's the McGregor fight. I know before they gave him the purse, the IRS had to take $17 million in taxes out of it
Jesus.
because he owed $17 million in back taxes. So yes, he'll be out of money, and the way he spends it with all this other shit. Because when we were at the fights for Logan Paul down in Miami, he walked into like a Bentley dealership and bought like 30 of his friends brand new Bentleys, and they were each
That's
like
nice of him.
$300,000 a piece. It's
30
fine.
fucking Bentleys?
Yeah, I think it was 29 if memory serves me correct.
Jesus.
Yeah. So that guy will be out of money, or he'll have to do these fucking circus fights still as long as he can. But the problem is, one of these times, he's going to get knocked out. Like the Logan Paul fight, he threw, because we were ringside, he threw the kitchen sink at him, right? And Logan didn't go down. And Logan did get some decent shots in. He's just not that skilled of a boxer. But if you would have put just a little bit more skilled of a boxer at that size in there, he would. I think he might have lost.
So you think he's gonna fight again?
I don't. I think he's going to have to fight, and that's the difference.
Oh, okay.
For money, I don't think he wants to, but I think he's going to have to in the next 4 to 5 years. Someone, I think he'll be out of cash. I really do.
I mean, with that many people on the payroll,
yeah.
6 figures and buying Bentleys all over the place.
It's too much.
Yeah,
it's too much.
Isn't that the same
Punching
thing that brought
women in
down
the back of
MC
the head?
Hammer?
Oh yeah, and Vander Holyfield and all those guys, because they were out of Atlanta where I grew up. And I know Holyfield built this crazy mansion. It was like $30 million, and I mean it looked like it was out of ancient Rome, and it just did not fit in the state of Georgia, where you're like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Went bankrupt and had to sell it. Rick Ross actually owns it now, and if you watch, this is a weird fun fact, if you watch Coming to America 2, when they show the outside of the palace at the very beginning of the movie of the Zamunda Palace, that's actually Rick Ross's house.
Holy shit.
Yes, and so the whole movie, like all the interior and all that shit was shot in Rick Ross's house. And they rented it out, and then he got to keep the Zamunda table, you know, where they're all eating. It's like a fucking 40-person table.
God.
Yeah,
damn.
and they left like pictures of Eddie Murphy, like paintings and shit up in the house and everything. And yeah, but that was originally built by Holyfield, who was going through the same thing. Ton of kids, blowing cash, and then he went bankrupt. And so he's fighting again.
Holyfield is?
Oh yeah, dude.
What?
Yeah. I believe it's Peter McNeely, and I want to say it's at either the middle or the end of August. And he's also
that
trying to put something together with Tyson.
Thriller thing? Is that a thriller?
Yeah, Triller. Yeah, it's going to be a Triller event.
Holy shit.
He's fighting Kevin McBride.
Oh, Kevin McBride.
Oh no, that was on June 5th, so that already happened. I don't know when his next fight
No,
is.
it got pushed.
Okay,
Yeah.
then maybe that's still gonna go on.
Yeah, because he was at the Logan Paul thing, promoting that or kind of meeting some people there. That's when we were chatting with him.
Okay.
But yeah, all those guys. I mean, the beauty of history is it lends itself to like endless episodes. I mean, you can do fucking forever episodes. Like
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's been a whole lot of history.
athletes, musicians, everyone.
And what's it called? Like Garden Green or whatever?
Evergreen, yeah.
yeah,
Evergreen
whatever the fuck
content. Yeah.
Evergreen.
That's the big podcast word of it lives forever. But it is true. Like you take a show
Evergreen sounds like a elf or something.
yeah. or
We
a
have elf
a
content.
late 90s band.
Wait, Ross, what's your like favorite, most famous person
Of all time?
of all time? Yeah.
Man, I love the entertainers. I love the exciting people who are just fucking loud and boisterous and shit like that. So like athlete-wise, Ricky Henderson and Deion Sanders, those are my dudes. Rock-wise, it's the Rolling Stones. So obviously my kid's name is Jagger, so I'm a huge Mick Jagger fan. I mean, I've read everything you can read on the Rolling Stones. I've been to numerous concerts, everything like that. As far as historical figures, if we're going politics, FDR, obviously, for FDR American Badass. Wrote that, that movie about him, so I get to learn about his whole bullshit. And like, that's what I love about it, is finding things that people don't necessarily know. Like, I didn't know that FDR was in a wheelchair the entire time.
Yeah, he had polio, right?
He had polio, but all he wouldn't let anybody take a picture of him in a wheelchair. So he was always standing. And so like all the pictures you see of him behind a podium or whatever, they would tape him up, get him out there, and then he'd immediately go into a wheelchair. I didn't know the thing that his wife was, Eleanor, was a lesbian.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that either.
So they had an agreement because he was fucking partying, and they used to call it like children's cocktail hour, which is a weird fucking thing. Hey, Bob, look that up. It was called, I believe it's Children's Cocktails or Children's Cocktail Hour, and he used to have it at the White House.
The Children's Hour.
The Children's Hour, that's it.
Which sounds like an event at the Neverland Ranch.
It's creepy. Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah.
But
Children's
he would
Cocktail Hour.
make drinks at the White House for people and kind of rage. She wasn't down with it, and said he was boozing too much. And she eventually moved in with this girl. I want to say it was in like Poughkeepsie, New York. So she spent most of her time there, and then he was down in Warm Springs, fucking banging some other girl, and they just had this arrangement that they were the Roosevelts, and this is what you did. She had other interests, and that weren't necessarily with the president, and they had an agreement and kind of lived out their life like that. And that's the interesting shit that I like about history, where you're like, oh, all right, well, fuck. And you also realize how important he was to the country. So whatever you kind of had to go through for that, great, congratulations. some jobs are bigger than others. Like, that's why I'm not mad about like Martin Luther King. I don't know if you guys have covered him.
Not yet. We plan on trying to get Dan Holloway as the guest for the Martin Luther King
That'd be great,
episode.
dumping loads and everybody. But like, you know, the FBI had those things, whether or not they're true or not. Like, everybody's talked about it, about, you know, the multiple affairs and all that other shit.
Yeah.
But like, you look at the good he did. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fine. Not fine for his wife, but look at what he did for the world. Now, if that's what he needed, that's what he needed. Clinton, same thing. I don't think the Republicans should have, and I'm saying this as a Republican, but like, I don't think they should have gone for that impeachment. I thought it was fucking stupid. Run the world. Like, that's it. You know, I don't care if he's having an affair, getting his dick sucked in the White House. I thought that was a colossal waste of money to have those hearings and all that other shit. And then a lot of I mean, look, the OJ thing is always big for me. Obviously, it's behind you guys. There's a signed helmet and a jersey and all that shit. Like, for whatever reason, that story as a kid just latched on, and I watched every goddamn day of that. So when that doc came out, that 10-part series of it that ended up winning the Oscar, I was all in. Like, I could have watched that in one fucking single sitting. So.
Fuck.
Yeah, the OJ trial was insanely big because I even remember I was in grade school at the time, and once the verdict was announced, they actually announced it over the intercom at the school that he was found not guilty.
Did?
Yeah, over the fucking intercom at the school.
Yeah. That's and it's different things like the Challenger. I remember sitting in class as a kid, and they wheeled in the thing to watch the Challenger, and then it exploded live on TV, and you're just like, what happened? And they're scrambling to turn it off. And, you know, I'm too young. I didn't really fucking know what was going on. And then you come home and your mom tells you what happened. And you're like, oh, shit, that's crazy. But, like, all of the things that I'm talking about, you could cover on a history podcast, and it's great. Like, it really lends itself to all of these fucking crazy stories. Shit, you could even go in segments of, like, musicians only. Presidents only. Like, I mean, there's just so much to cover, which is why it's great. And then a buddy of mine, because when I got locked into where I thought history podcast could be big, was Dan Cummins with Time Suck. I was friends with him before that podcast started, and I didn't know that he loved history. And then he started doing that show, and I was like, oh shit! But he has a fucking team of writers. Do you write all the history for your show?
Yeah. Yeah, I do all
Not
of
all of it.
Okay, so Joel researched and wrote one episode, and then we recently had a special guest host on the show that researched and wrote their own episode. John Devilman, that was one of
Coop
our.
writes all the episodes.
Okay, cool.
All of them aside from those two.
Yeah.
Can I ask for one? I know softcore. I know softcore history. They don't do too many things that are close to the present. I want a Baby Jessica one.
Oh.
In the fucking well. I saw the picture, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago. I posted it on Ross Passion Revolution Instagram because she's grown up now. She's like 33 years old. And hey, Bob, can you put that picture up of Baby Jessica today? And it was wild. I was like, oh shit. She grew up into like a normal human being, you know? But that story was so, like, how did she get down the fucking well?
That story terrified me as a kid.
A lot of people.
Because I used to have nightmares about falling and getting stuck in a well. Like, I thought that was something that was happening on a regular basis to kids around the country, is that they're just randomly falling into wells and getting stuck in there. So I was afraid of it as a kid.
Yeah, pop her. Is that on full screen? There we go. Look at Baby Jessica, dude. She's not a baby anymore.
What is this Baby Jessica shit?
What do you mean?
I don't know about this.
The girl who got stuck in a fucking well? She fell down a well and was in there for, what, 20 days or something crazy?
Was she in there that long? I thought she was in there for like 3-4 days.
Probably 69
maybe
days.
a week.
How many days was
like
Baby
that?
Jessica in that fucking well?
69.
Lassie was involved, right?
Yeah.
69.
Yeah, there was a dog, and like they did all kinds of shit to try to get her out of that fucking well. How long was she in the well?
58 hours
58 hours.
in
man.
an abandoned water well in Midland, Texas.
Yeah, Midland. Yeah. 58 hours, that's it, huh? Seemed longer.
I mean,
Some would argue.
24-hour coverage, you know?
It's a little over 2 days.
Yeah, for a baby to be at the bottom of a well. But why or how she got in there and everything else, like.
Also, why do
curious.
you have an uncovered well in your backyard? You're just letting a toddler wander around in your backyard while you have an uncovered well that was what, like 100 feet deep? Or,
Well, so
or
yes,
something like
so
that?
in Texas, because I've learned a lot here, a lot. Septic tanks, I didn't know what the fuck that bullshit is, and that's a goddamn nightmare for your homeowner. And the allergies and the cedar fever and all that shit, nightmare. Wells, that's another one. So when we were looking at houses, they were like, hey, is it rainwater? Is there a well? And I was like, motherfucker, if we need a well for water for the house, like, I'm not buying that. Like, I'm not doing that bullshit. Matt Best, he had one of those things, and there was a drought one summer. And, I was like, what the fuck do you do then? If it's not raining and you don't have a thing and everything, I was like, I'm not doing that fucking bullshit. So there's a lot of properties with wells on them. And yeah, most of them are, they've got a little teeter-totter thing on the top of it, whatever you want to call it.
So.
Well, this was an abandoned well.
Oh, it was?
In her aunt's backyard. Her aunt was running a daycare.
A daycare with
Yeah,
an abandoned
and
well
she
in the
fell.
backyard?
Yeah.
She fell through an 8-inch wide opening of the abandoned well while her and other kids were playing. And I was stuck in there 58 hours. Lost a toe.
How many other kids were down there that they didn't find?
Yeah, that's the
We don't
question,
talk
really.
about-
Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
No, we don't talk about that. But you could cover that shit. Like, I'm trying to think of other big stories like growing up.
Well, speaking of children, don't you have like something about perverted priests or something right there?
I threw something together about what's known historically as the papal pornocracy, which was a period of
Yeah.
history where the position of pope was pretty much controlled by a single family who had a bit of a loose woman in charge of them at the time. But that's what got everyone into power, was her kind of flirting with everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the story we did on fake news yesterday was about the first cardinal to actually go to jail for having sex with kids and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So with this, what's the back history of it? Because I feel like with all of this shit, there's something sexual behind it.
Oh
Every time.
Every time, right?
yeah, every
Every
goddamn time.
goddamn
That's something that we've been finding on a fairly regular basis, that as soon as you give somebody money and power, it just goes directly to sex. And then once
poop.
it goes to sex,
And poop
then it goes to
eventually.
poop. For some reason, it if it goes on for long
The
enough,
final frontier.
it always
It goes to shit. Why does it go to shit?
I think that you just eventually get bored. You get bored with everything that's normal, so you have to start going into the taboos. So it's
Scat
it's
porn and shit like
incest
that.
and shit.
Yeah. God damn it, man. Religion itself is an overall topic is a hard one for me, because it does have to do with money. Like with the Bible, for example, there's so many different versions of it, and rewrites. Like, I look at it from a writing perspective of like, all right, who had the rewrite on that? Who was able to come in and make the changes and anything else? To me, if it was just, this amazing singular book, why does there need to be any updates to it?
Yeah, I mean, that's why Hollywood is constantly rebooting things. You run out of ideas, so you have to go back and you touch up an older idea.
Yeah. Because with the Bible or something like that, like with religion, you can rewrite it depending upon who's in power or what you need to go with the times and everything else. I mean, look, we talked about the Catholic Church a little bit yesterday, but what was it, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they had said, hey, gay marriage is fine, and we support gay people. And then this year they're like, no, we're all done with that now. It seemed like there wasn't enough money in it for them, and they were like, no, I think that's bad again, so we should probably get off that. I don't think gay people were donating enough money to the church or something.
Yeah, historically speaking, the Catholic Church has always kind of gone to where the money is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's from the beginning. It seems like that's what they've been all about. I mean, no disrespect to Catholics or anything like that.
Sure.
but, I mean, the clergy has, from the beginning, been extremely corrupt.
Yeah.
And I mean, going to modern days, you look at how much effort they put into covering up all the priests diddling little boys all over the world.
Diddling? What do you mean by diddling?
Molesting.
Molesting,
Oh, okay.
Joel.
Sexually
Okay.
molesting.
Sexually
yeah.
molesting,
Ross.
Joel, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's going on forever. One of the cases was in Atlanta. It was one of the churches that I went to as a kid. And I was just like, man, was I not good enough to be touched, or it didn't happen to me? Never got touched by that priest.
I don't think you should take it personally. Maybe you were just a little bit too big, and they thought that you'd be able to fight back.
It's hard. I guess Jesse, my wife, says it all the time. She's like, with Harvey Weinstein, was I not hot enough? Like, what the fuck, dude? She was like, I would have taken the Oscar. Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go up to the hotel and get a quick massage. I'm getting an Oscar, right?
It's weird that
I'm getting an Oscar.
It's such a terrible thing, but if you get passed over for it, it is a bit of a slight. It's like,
yeah.
well, why'd you molest them? And
not me. Was I not?
Yeah.
Was I not? Am I not pretty for you?
I would
baby
take-
not pretty enough for you, Daddy? Is baby not pretty enough?
I would take it a little personally.
You should. You should. By the
You
way,
should drink for that, right? You should drink.
Oh yeah, we've got a running drinking game on our show where every time we say something that's
Culturally,
either racially or culturally insensitive,
you have to take a drink.
take a on this show, it's about every 10 seconds to be blackout drunk. Did you guys see that Michael Che thing? This is a side note. Did you see his joke today that he's getting torched for?
no.
Oof. It's a diddling joke, if you will, and that's why I thought of it. He on his Instagram was like, dude, I've got like 3 minutes worth of Simone Biles jokes, Simone Biles, that I want to tell.
Oh.
I'm going to read his joke. Just know that it is not my joke. This is definitely Michael Che's joke. And it was involving Larry Nasser, the gymnastics coach who had molested all of them. It's a rough one. Did you read this one, Bob?
I thought that
Was
one
it
of his followers wrote it.
It was a repost by him?
Yeah, and he was like, "Ooh, that's bad. 9 out of 10." Or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
He didn't write it either. He just, I guess, enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'll pull it up. You got it? Yeah, you're going to put it on screen? Put it up on screen. It's one of those where it's like, I definitely want to be clear that I did not write this joke. You got it? Come on, Bob. Twitter. Michael Che. I'll just read it. You ready? Again, Michael Che, not me. So don't come after me on this one. Larry Nasser understands Simone Biles better than anyone. He too had to quit doing what he loved at the pinnacle of his career because of mounting pressure. And then he writes, so somebody else wrote this, obviously, and then submitted it, and then he wrote, "God damn, that's rough. Absolutely tasteless. 9 out of 10 for the joke." And then he's since deleted his entire Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He took down his whole Instagram because of
every
that?
post that he's ever made is wiped. Everything is gone. So
Holy shit.
yeah.
I feel like there should
There was another one that he reposted as well.
What was that one?
It was also about Simone Biles. It said the joke was, "Who said black don't crack?"
Okay.
And then he said, Che responded, "Now that's a good joke. Economical, referential, balanced. Good job. 8 out of 10."
Yeah. No. So he's taking some heat for that, but yeah, the diddling's been going on for a very, very long time.
Oh, since
I
time
can't figure it
immemorial.
out. I
Diddlin's
can't.
molesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, diddling is molesting.
It is. Yeah. But I've never understood it with kids.
I don't understand it either. I feel like universally they should be considered a protected class, which I mean they kind of are, but also like how would you be attracted to
A child.
A child.
It doesn't make any sense. to me.
There's just absolutely nothing sexual about them that I can think of.
No, because like I understand what you were saying earlier about you get to a certain level of power where you're just like, all right, well, what's next? Gonna fuck a rabbit? You know, like because that's what happens to people where you're just like, Jesus Christ, are you that bored in life? And the answer is yes. Kids though, it's like that's the final frontier where you're like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, it seems like a bit much.
Well, that's why they go to poop. Poop is the final
Poop
frontier.
is that's
Unless you're
past.
naughty.
Well,
Yeah.
for McAfee, apparently the final frontier was fucking a whale at one point. That's what Dan was telling me, but I hadn't found that information.
He fucked a whale.
Yeah, he fucked a whale. Yeah.
Literally fucked a whale.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
he put his dick in the blowhole, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in the blowhole.
How do all these billionaires?
Oh, but he was shitting too, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He was getting shit on all
He was
the
getting
time.
shit on through the hammock, right?
Yeah, he liked to have women shit on him through a hammock.
Yeah.
and we were talking
A
about
net
that
hammock.
on our
a net,
McAfee
a net
episode.
hammock, so like the X of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hammock
yeah.
is right on the butthole, so it's like 4 turds instead of 1.
You know, the funny thing is the Giggle Boys were on, and they actually had McAfee on their show.
That's what Eli was telling me.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that shit.
And so I was asking him about the shitting through the hammock thing, and I was like, "Hey, dude, about the hammock." He's like, "I don't want to go into it." I was like, "Why, dude? That's if you're getting shit on through a hammock, like
Was he jerking off? Or
great
was
story."
How sexual was it?
I don't know. Like my only
because he was laying under the hammock, right?
yeah. I would imagine you're jacking off underneath there.
Yeah, I mean, you must be.
You have to be.
And where's the poo going? Like on
your
face?
chest.
Chest?
Well, face, chest. OBJ.
in your mouth?
That if you listen to that podcast with that girl who claimed to shit on OBJ's chest, she went into it, and it was very specific instructions leading up to it. So like he didn't want her to shower, wanted her eating certain types of food and things like that, and then boom.
He didn't want her to shower?
No, it's a scent. He wanted it. This scent.
whole
of-
body had to be
yeah,
stinky.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's going to stink whether you shower or not.
But that's
he wanted that
part of
BO
it too. Like
The
I mean,
BO, the sweat.
Being dirty.
Yes.
Just wanting to be as dirty as possible.
because everybody's got their weird thing, right? I had a buddy who on these bonus Friday shows. We just don't give a fuck here. I can't believe I'm telling this story. I had a buddy, dude. His dream was to pick up a homeless girl, take her home, clean her up, make her look kind of normal, like see what it would be like, and then have sex with her, and then gave her some food and clothes, and then put her out into the world again.
He did it?
Well, he kept talking about it, and then eventually, he did it.
Holy shit.
Really?
Yeah.
How did it go for him?
Well, so here's the thing. I was like, why after all this time? After like 4 or 5 years of talking about this or whatever. And he goes, I think I was just waiting for like a hotter homeless person. And I go, so when you clean her up and all the things, like, she was hot? And he goes, yeah, she was pretty attractive, but he goes, it's weird because, then afterwards, like after being in my nice home and all that other stuff, like, you had to put her back on the streets. And so, and I go, well, what did you do? Like, what did you do? And he goes, well, I mean, I went into the pantry and I gave her like all my canned goods and stuff like that, and like a bag, and like a flannel, and it was dark, dude. It was really dark.
Here's some canned food, some of my old camping gear.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't have to drop you off at home.
Some toilet paper.
Exactly. And so, but the final question is always, did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Was it everything you hoped for? And he was like, no. And I think
It was fucking awful.
That fantasy died. He didn't say it was terrible, but he just said, I felt bad about the whole situation. And he goes, I never want to do that again.
Yeah, I would kind of feel bad about that too. Well, I mean, you give him this nice time inside of your house, and I'm assuming you gave her some food while she was there, and she gets to shower, and
Yeah.
then it's just
Bye.
Thank you.
Back out to
Right
being
back on the
homeless.
street.
Yeah. And my love of rock docs and all this stuff. So I read every rock book that comes out, everything. I love them, right? The closest story I heard to that was on The Dirt by Motley Crue. And they had picked up a homeless girl, and each, like, before they were famous, like they were just on the verge, living out of their own apartment, And they fucked this homeless girl in like a closet because there was all the doors were kicked
Wait,
in
like
and shit.
all of them?
2 of them. I guess 2 of them had fucked this homeless girl, and
Tommy
then
Lee
they
had
and then
to
they,
have
they
been
took
one
her
of them.
clothes.
What?
Yeah.
So they just put her out on the street naked?
Yeah. They did some really fucked up shit.
What the fuck?
God damn.
Yeah. And then that led to poop as well,
It always does.
Because if you watch the Netflix movie, that story that was in there with, they left it out. That's the one where Ozzy Osbourne, they were on tour with Ozzy Osbourne, and they walked into his hotel room, and he was shitting all over the floor and then rubbing his feces onto the walls and making paintings out of it.
Ozzy was?
Well,
Yeah,
God
I
bless him
guess,
for that.
Yeah, I guess that's not too surprising coming from Ozzy. Was that the same tour where he snorted a line of ants?
Correct. The fire ants, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, Jesus Christ. Like, they go, if you thought we were crazy or anything you're going to read in this book is crazy, Ozzy is like, there was no boundaries for that guy.
Yeah, it
whatsoever.
seems like nobody could outdo Ozzy during that time period.
No. And the weird thing is like, we met him, we did a gig with him in Jacksonville, and his entire family. And like, we're friends with Jack. Jack's been on the show numerous times. We love them. They're like the nicest people ever. I can't imagine that side of him because it's just like, All right. Yeah. I mean, the Osbournes we know are from the TV show, not
Yeah.
Right.
painting walls with your own feces and snorting lines of fire ants and shit like that.
Yeah, it's funny that pissing on the Alamo is one of the stories. I mean, aside from biting the head off of a bat, pissing on the Alamo is one of the more
Wait,
well-known.
he peed on the Alamo?
Yeah, he didn't even know he was doing it. He was just shit-faced wandering
partying.
around San Antonio and decided to
And he
pee
got
on a wall.
arrested.
For
Yeah, got
for
arrested
anyone
for
who's
it.
never been to San Antonio and hasn't seen the Alamo,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to do than you would think if you're like on like an 8-ball and have had like an entire fifth of Jack Daniels. Like it's just right there.
It's right there. And like when I went and saw it for the first time and I walked around it, that's all I kept thinking was like, I could piss all over this place. Like there's endless places to piss on the Alamo, and I don't think anybody would say anything.
I want to go there.
You should.
It's not
you
that
should piss on the Alamo.
Yeah, you should. It's not that
I'll go
great.
there and
It's
piss on it.
smaller than you think.
Yeah, I went there once when I was real young, but I've been planning on making another trip. Yeah,
Yeah.
2 years out of luck.
It's one of those places where you're like, all right, cool, but this is it.
We
You're like,
lost.
Yeah, we lost. Like,
And
you know,
it wasn't worth defending to begin with.
No. But a lot of the shit in history is smaller or different than you thought it was. I remember going to LA for the first time and wanting to see Grauman's Chinese Theater with all the stars put their handprints and footprints and all that shit. And then you go and it's small and you're like, oh, this is it?
Yeah.
And also the area is dirty and
Filthy.
Yeah, it does not live up to expectations.
No. And John Wayne's footprints were out front. And he was a little tiny man. The fucking boots were like this big.
That's what I keep hearing, that he had tiny little feet, but he was like well over 6 feet tall.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was a pretty big guy overall.
Clooney says it shrinks up. He did an interview where he said, when you put your hands and feet in there, he goes, it shrinks up. The cement does.
Over time?
So he goes, the trick is for that day, just wear a shoe size that's 2 sizes bigger than yours. That way, when you put it in the thing and it shrinks back down, it'll be your normal foot size.
Oh, that makes sense.
I don't know if that's true or not. But even that, like the history on that theater, I don't even know why that fucking exists.
Oh, I have no idea. I've never looked into the Chinese theater before. But yeah, in general, so starting off, a lot of the history that I learned was just from pop culture, watching movies, playing video games, things like that. So going into all of this, I had a certain mindset where I thought that I knew what most of history looked like because of the movies that I had seen and things like that. But once you actually start reading into it, the reality of it is so much different than what you see in film, because the reality is not very interesting to look at on screen. It needs to be a lot more dramatic and entertaining.
Yeah.
But I still think the real stories can be equally as interesting. Like one of the biggest shocks to me through researching history was learning about how real medieval combat would play out, the way that the wars would actually play out when people were lining up on 2 different sides of a battlefield and charging at each other with shields and spears and things like that.
Yeah.
I always pictured it the same way that you
Like
see
movies,
it in movies, like in Braveheart or really any medieval or older movie that you see. The reality was more of a high school shoving match where the 2 sides would square up with each other, they'd get in close, and then they would just kind of fuck with each other to see which side was going to break first. And people would still die. There were still casualties that would be taken throughout the course of the battle, but it was really when one side would finally turn tail and run during the rout,
Right.
that's when the big slaughters would generally happen. Because before that, it was just kind of people going up and shoving each other like,
Shit
oh,
talking.
what are you going to do, pussy? And yeah, they would
Yeah.
talk shit to each other, throw stuff at each other. It wasn't a bunch of people squaring off in one-on-one combat in this huge chaotic battlefield. It was just 2 big groups of people going up and be like, "What's up, pussy?"
Yeah. You kind of just described what riots are actually like today,
Yeah, very, very
Yeah.
similar.
where things escalate. Everybody's talking shit, and then one person gets hyped up enough to be like, well, I'm fucking knocking you out. And then all of the shit goes down.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I never really thought about it. I guess once weapons were introduced, though, it was a whole different ballgame as far as guns and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it became a lot different with the introduction of firearms, but it's surprisingly hard to convince somebody to willingly kill somebody else that they don't know, that they don't have any prior beef with. So when they have these big groups of people going up against each other, they're really trying to impress their friends more than anybody else. Like who can be the strongest guy on the battlefield, who can be the bravest.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of times that's how it would go down, is they would square up, talk a bunch of shit, push each other around, and then a few like hardcore fights would break out. And then once one side would see that they weren't doing as well as the other side, even as sometimes regardless of the size of the armies, as soon as I think the general figure is about, if you can get, I think it's about 10% of the opposing army to fall back, that'll cause a rout where the rest of the army will see like, oh, my boys are falling back, so I'm going to back up a little bit. And then as soon as a couple people start running, that can cause the rest of the line to break. Everybody starts running, and that's when the opposing army just runs them down and starts doing a whole bunch of stabbing.
Got it. Yeah, look, shit, man. I look back at like the Civil War, like that was fucking brutal, where you're just biting down on bullets and all that other shit. There was a battleground right behind my dad's building as a kid, and so we would go back there on the weekends with metal detectors and get bullets and all that other stuff. I probably have, I don't know, 300 or 400 bullets.
God, I would love to do that.
We found belt buckles. We found bite marks in some of the bullets.
No shit.
Yes, and then when you got wounded and they were performing surgery, that's where the phrase "bite the bullet" comes from.
Yeah.
They were performing surgery and doing it. So like some of the bullets actually had bite marks in them.
Why do you bite the bullet?
It was something to bite down on. It was
Yeah.
something to bite down on, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just
So
to-
you just
to
chew
do
on
For
the
the
bullet
pain, yeah, for the
Yeah,
pain.
it's like gritting your teeth.
Yeah, we found all kinds of shit. We found a cannonball.
No shit.
Yeah, one that was not gone off, and we had to call somebody, and they had to come and get it. Like, pick
Oh,
it
so
up.
it was actually one of the explosive
Yeah.
ones. That's some gnarly shit. You know,
They had
one of my
explosive-
But it was
Cannonballs?
fun, and like that was part of like my love for history too. Was like I actually got to do it. Like go out with a metal detector, find all this stuff, and then you would go and kind of research what you had found. Because at the time, if it got out, like if the word got out in the South, because I grew up in Georgia almost all my life. If the word got out that there was a battleground and there was bullets or any leftover things in that area, there would be like fucking 8 people out there with metal detectors, and then we just clean out the entire area.
Yeah, I'd go out there and start picking up souvenirs.
Oh yes, absolutely. And then you can sell them because in the aftermarket there was like an aftermarket for it, and similar to baseball cards, where like the bullets were worth more if they were, preserved better. The ones that were frags and all that other shit, like less money. You got more for belt buckles. You got more for Confederates stuff than you did Union stuff. And it's
Really, the Confederate stuff goes for more than the Union?
in the South.
Oh, okay.
So
Bigger market down there.
yeah, just a tad bigger market. You know?
Actually, that would probably make sense because there was less Confederate stuff produced.
There was, because I believe the Unions outnumbered him, 12-1 or something like that?
Yeah, and they had all the factories just cranking shit out. Like, it actually makes a lot of sense to me that Confederate stuff would be worth more.
Yeah. So, all of that stuff as a kid was a blast, and I still have a lot of it at the house now. But all of that shit, like just being wrapped up, and I mean, even just loading those rifles. I mean, it was, you get one shot, and then you're going back after, but it was like a piece of cloth that you had to jam back in there, and
the wadding, I think they call it.
yeah,
One opportunity.
one shot. Yeah. I like you chime in for just one Eminem joke, and I appreciate that today, Giorgio. That's what I love about the Friday shows. We can just squeeze in a off the cuff Eminem joke right out the thing. That's it.
Hi, Giorgio.
Yeah, but I enjoyed Civil War, like learning about it and everything. Simply because of what everybody was going through and why they did it. Because some people didn't have a choice, and it was just like, well, you're in.
Yeah.
Fuck off. We're going to do this, and that's it.
Yeah, one of my favorite historic anecdotes that I know of is from the Civil War, and I don't remember exactly which battle it was from, but there was one point where a Union soldier and a Confederate soldier both jumped into the same shell hole to take cover from fire, and once they saw each other, they got into a fist fight, and the fist fight was so fucking brutal that both sides stopped fighting and gathered around the shell hole just to watch this fist fight play out. And they were both cheering on their
wow.
good guy, and these two guys were just fucking wailing on each other.
Who won? Do you know?
I have no idea.
That's a
But,
great story.
That would have been a good fight to watch. I mean, if it's enough to stop an entire Civil War battle, it must have been.
Must have been fucking epic,
I
dude.
mean, people back then, getting into a fight was like a daily occurrence.
Oh, yeah,
one
yeah,
of the historically in America, one of the most common injuries to get from a fist fight back in that era was losing an eye, because they would gouge each other's eyes out. And that was just like,
Yeah.
that was just some shit that would happen. So yeah, the fist fights back then would have been fucking more than anything we've ever seen, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. They didn't give a fuck back then.
Yeah.
They didn't give a shit. Bare knuckle boxing is probably the closest we have to that now.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, all right, here we go. Taping up, and we'll figure out what the fuck happens here.
Wait, so what's the deal with the Paige thing?
Paige Van Sant?
Yeah, with the dog.
Yeah, I bet her dog on air. That's if she lost, she'd give me her fucking dog.
And now she's not giving it up.
No, she's not giving it. But to be fair, though, she said, "No, I'm not doing this bet." Like, she did say that on air.
Oh, okay.
But I'm forcing the issue. Okay, I want the fucking
good
dog,
move.
Paige. I want the fucking dog.
Take her to court.
For the dog. Something she never agreed to. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, I think it, so whatever. Do you guys watch historical movies? And if so, what's your favorite?
Oh yeah, I mean we both watch quite a few historical movies. I'd have a hard time picking out a singular one that I like. I mean, I think that
Well, the classics like Braveheart.
yeah,
Gladiator.
Braveheart would be the first one that comes to mind.
I
It's
got
funny.
the Gladiator helmet on the set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've worn it
Iconoblast
on a couple episodes now.
Yeah.
It's funny because Braveheart is probably my favorite historical movie, but it's
The least accurate.
It's also well known as being one of the least.
Is it really?
accurate. Yeah, I've heard somebody compare it to seeing a bunch of Civil War soldiers dressed up in modern day business suits shooting at each other with automatic weapons. Like that's how accurate it is. The clothing's inaccurate, the weapons are inaccurate. But I mean, it's a great
What
fucking
about
movie.
Saving Private Ryan?
Saving Private Ryan is surprisingly accurate. There's even a.
Oh, I didn't know that was based on a real person.
Yeah, is that a true
Yeah,
story?
yeah, it was something called. Well, no, the opening battle was based on something.
Well, I
think
know
it
the
was
battle
called
is
D-Day or
yeah.
something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I haven't heard of that.
I know the
What
battle is,
that?
but I didn't know if Private Ryan.
The story itself is very loosely inspired on real events, but
Was it a real war?
Oh my God. Are you fucking joking?
this is why we have Joel on the show. He asks the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, you have
Stuff
to.
that people really want to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Saving Private Ryan was very, very loosely based on real events where there was or it might have been based on a couple different families, but yeah, there were some families who lost all of their sons except for one in the war, and they tried to bring the final one home. But as far as I know, they didn't actually put together a mission of a team of, I think they were Rangers, right? In Saving Private Ryan, were they?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They were Rangers.
Yeah.
So actually, Bob, maybe you know this. I thought all the Rangers went to Point du Hoc. Did they actually have some on?
I don't know if there were Rangers on Omaha Beach. Point du Hoc, was Rangers though, but I
Yeah.
don't know what the distribution was. It was based on the Nyland brothers. It's actually
Okay, that's what it was.
and they were in the unit over, like just like the company over or something like that, maybe battalion over of the Band of Brothers company.
Easy Company.
Yeah, Easy Company. They were like someone. I've read the book, and someone from Easy Company, who was a character in Band of Brothers, like knew the guy that they pulled out, who Saving Private Ryan ended up being based on.
Okay.
But there wasn't anything dramatic about it. Like there wasn't like a last stand at a town or anything like that.
Yeah, I like because I watch a lot of historical movies. I enjoy all of that shit. Like the biopics, like I'm all in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
me too.
Highlander and stuff.
Yeah.
T2.
Yeah, big.
The true story of Christopher Lambert.
Yeah. No, but I like I mean, obviously, Rock is my favorite. So like Ray was one of the best.
Oh yeah, I've
The Rock.
still only seen parts of it. Not The Rock, Ray.
Yeah, Jamie Lee.
I'm sorry, dude.
Jesus, Joel.
Hey, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's birthday today, so.
Is it really?
Yeah.
He's
What is he?
celebrating.
78 years old.
74.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
74 years old.
Jesus
God
Christ.
damn.
74.
Still working out. No, but like, so like Ray, the Aretha Franklin biopic is coming out in a couple months with Jennifer Hudson. Shit, I think it's in like 2 weeks actually.
Oh, and they got Jennifer Hudson playing Aretha Franklin?
She's Aretha Franklin. That
think
looks
she'll
really
do a good
fucking
job.
good. Lincoln, dude. Look, DDL is the greatest of all time.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with that. I don't think there's any other method actor out there that can even fucking touch him. And also, I think that his portrayal of Lincoln was, in terms of mannerisms and his speaking voice,
Yeah.
amazingly accurate because Lincoln was known to have a higher pitched melodic voice.
Yeah.
And I think that Daniel Day-Lewis did a fucking great job.
It
with
was jarring when I saw it in theaters and hearing that voice for the first time.
I didn't like it.
Hey,
like
four
it.
score and 7 years ago, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
fuck is this shit?
Is that Lincoln, dude?
I would have
Is that fucking
never. I would have never imagined because I mean Lincoln was what, like 6'6" or some shit.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Amazing wrestler. He's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah,
WWE or? I'm kidding.
Yeah,
It
no,
was
he was-
WWF back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame because I think his record was like, fuck, how much was it? I want to say it was like 100-0 or something like that. Like, he
Really?
was
Well, he's tall.
undefeated.
But weren't they
was-
like drunken wrestling events and stuff? Like he was at his house and he was partying and shit with the rest of
I
his
mean,
friends?
probably.
And he would
There's-
count
there's-
that towards his record.
There's
Yeah.
rumors that he had a boyfriend, so maybe it was just
Lincoln?
yeah.
He was
yeah,
fucking dudes?
well, there's rumors about it. It hasn't been confirmed.
Just because
but
he was bored, not because he was gay.
Yeah. Who's the dude?
somebody, a close friend of his, somebody that was like a member of his cabinet or something like that. I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my
Wow.
head. But
Well, the
he
wife,
was-
his wife was crazy.
Mary Todd.
Yeah.
yeah, she
Was
was
she hot?
into.
No. Lincoln was not a good-looking man.
No, not what I would consider. I mean, real pockmarked face and sunken cheeks.
does that mean, pockmarked?
Great speaker. It almost looked like acne scars. He was just real wrinkly. Everybody back in those days looked real fucked up because their health was always so poor. I mean, everybody's malnourished. And,
By the way, I just noticed this. Go back to their two-shot real quick. There is a huge dildo that has been behind you the entire show. No wonder we're getting flagged on YouTube.
Oh, the Iconodon.
The
How did that
Iconodon.
get there?
Oh, did you? Is that on your show?
No, never. We don't. there's
Obviously,
there's
no.
dildos
The
on
Oconodon?
we wouldn't
Yeah.
do something
No.
that crass.
No, they don't. By the way, YouTube doesn't flag you for shit like that. We had Adam and
Okay,
Eve
I
as a
hope
no. We had Adam and Eve as a sponsor once. That lasted a couple shows. It was a blast, and they sent
Really,
us.
I would think that they'd stick around for a while. This is like
So
the
did I. They
perfect
couldn't.
place for it.
They couldn't afford the ad rates. They were just like, "Look, man, we would love to, but they sent us."
Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Was that Ruben?
Yeah, Ruben.
Yeah,
just said Robin
Ruben
Hood.
named it Throbbing Hood.
Throbbing Hood. That's a great one.
Yeah.
But they sent us, I think it was like 100 dildos, and we shot all these sketches with them and shit like that. We did the Dildo Olympics. Matt and I, you can go back and watch some of those old videos where the suction cup. So we would make them flip. We scored it with the Olympic music and all that other shit. Michael Phelps' mom crying when the dildos hit the desk and shit. It was a blast. But yeah, they were like, man, we don't have that much money. I'm like, really? Sex toys, one would think, you know.
Isn't
Shit.
Adam and Eve a really old company too?
It is, yeah.
And they couldn't afford it.
It's one of those things where a lot of people are going to Amazon, I heard. So
Oh yeah.
I was shocked that Amazon had all the fucking sex shit that they had. You
Do they have
you can buy everything off of Amazon.
God damn, no wonder Jeff Bezos is so rich.
Yeah, Bob, go to Amazon and just type in glass dildo. It's off the top of my dome here. See if it pops up. I guarantee it does. You can buy butt plugs, all kinds of shit.
Glass dildo. Huh?
Yeah, boom, put that up on screen. Just put that page up there. There you go.
Cock rings.
Look at that. And so that it'll give you. Go to the scroll up above the guy that's in slow mo. Yeah, there we go. I like how it says battery. You can buy batteries and lube. So that's just getting you.
Setting you
Most
up, man.
customers bought, and then this other
Sets you up, yeah.
with that item, and you're like, all right, great. But yeah, you can buy everything on Amazon now. So I think a lot of these stores and these mom and pop places are going out of business. You don't see that many XXX stores anymore, like on the side of the highway.
Oh yeah, not nearly as much.
No, there was one in Wilmington, and every time I drove past it, I was like, who? There was like one or two cars. I was like, well, who's your clients for that? What, like, buy it online. Do you want to go in and fucking pick it out in front of some weird dude?
Nope.
I mean, yeah, the internet is the perfect place for selling sex toys because most people in general don't want to be seen walking into a sex shop.
Glad you brought that up. I made a post a few months ago. The best picture inside of a sex shop of all time. Type in Zac Efron, Bob, in a sex store. He was there with his girlfriend when he was dating that Vanessa Hudgens.
Him and Vanessa Hudgens in a sex
We're
shop?
shopping for sex toys in a sex shop in L.A. And
wow.
There was this fat Mexican woman who did not care. And she was just like, can we get a picture? And it is the most awkward. There you go. Yeah, put that full screen.
Yes. Fuck yeah.
He's so pissed off. Now, Baby V, if you do Vanessa Hudgens in that, because there's another one where she takes a picture, she's laughing about it, where she's like, all right, dude, I know this is going around the world, so fuck off. And I think she's got like a peace sign or something like that. Bob, look up Vanessa Hudgens in this sex shop. Put it on screen. There you go.
Oh, there's the peace sign.
Oh, it's great. It's
And
great.
they say never meet your heroes.
Yeah, but they're like, that's great. I appreciate shit like that.
I mean, if I'm going to get noticed anywhere, I feel like I'd be more excited about getting noticed in a sex shop. I mean, it'd just be a more interesting story.
Oh yeah,
At least they know
yeah.
you're frisky,
Exactly. We should
Yeah.
start taking selfies in like sex shops,
Yeah.
and then just posting them online and not saying anything about it. I went through a big phase where I would put gay sex on the TV in the background, and then take pictures with my wife and be like, "Hey, it's date night." But never say anything, and they're like, everybody else would be like, Jesus Christ, dude,
What the fuck?
What the fuck are you guys watching? And I was like, something. The babysitter must have put it on. I don't know. I'm just going to dinner.
Casual.
Me and my wife for dinner. I didn't even notice it.
Casual Friday.
Yeah, I didn't even notice this two dudes butt fucking in the background.
Oh, it must have just come on after Family Guy.
Yeah, right. Look, guys, I'm a huge fan of your show. The name of it is Iconoblast.
Yes.
It's got its own RSS feed, its own podcast feed. Download it now. Who do you guys got for Monday night? Who's Monday night's show?
Next is Marquis de Sade, one of the most perverted Frenchmen in history. He's actually the namesake for sadism.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, shit.
Once again, a rich person who started off having a lot of sex and went to shit.
Amazing.
Right. To
Got
the
into
poop.
shit later, yeah.
Amazing.
People.
And then you guys are on YouTube-wise. You're on the Drinkin Bros History channel.
Yep.
And it's them and softcore history. The beauty of historical podcasts is they're evergreen. They will never,
Fucking
ever
elf
get
shit,
old.
the
So,
evergreen,
yeah. So you can go back and pick through their entire catalog and then subscribe to the Drinkin Bros History channel as well. Softcore Histories videos are on there, and Iconoblasts are on there as well. And then hit them up. Go to the Instagram and hit them up and tell them topics that you guys want
Yep,
discussed.
we do topics that people request.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, we've gotten a few episode ideas from listeners. You can hit us up at Iconoblast Podcast, or you can message me at Coop Nukem or Joel at Joel R. Benner.
Yep. And send them some suggestions, and then go to subscribe to Iconoblast Podcast, rate and review the show, rate it a 5-star,
please,
and leave a quick review. It helps get them on the charts and everything else. I don't know why it's reviews and ratings and stuff like that. Same with Drinkin Bros, and it's like, man,
Whatever helps.
yes, it's always that though for some reason, like ratings and
all
reviews.
all the algorithms that they use are always really mysterious. They'll have the guidelines for it in-house and known to the employees, but anybody outside of that, they keep it very mysterious for some reason.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Thanks for being here, you guys. Enjoy the show, and glad to have you on the network.
Yeah, thank you for having us
Yeah.
here. Thank you for bringing us to Texas, and thank you, Jesse, for finding us and picking us up.
Absolutely.
It means everything.
We're
Yeah.
very happy to be here.
Awesome, guys. Big fan of the show. Check out Iconoblast. For Coop, Joel, I'm Ross Patterson. This has been a Friday afternoon Drinkin Bros podcast bonus show. Good night, everyone. Have a great weekend.